Hello, this is a demo of Python graphics for CS 1124, Fall 2024, Section 2. There will also be a demo for Section 3, and if they both turn out, I'll post them both in our supplemental folder on YouTube. Okay, I got a little bit of a head start. Here's my 1124 directory, and here are the examples. And an example just for you. Example 4, underline 02, edit with idle, edit with idle. I don't know that you can necessarily pull up idle like that in the lab, but you might be able to. What I did was right click on the py file, and one of the options it gave me in the menu was to open with idle. If it doesn't let you do that, you can always use the magnifying glass. If you're wondering where this came from, that's my head start. This is the program, the tiny little program that you see on the front of the graphics. That's their demo. Here's what you do to get graphics going, and we'll just see what it does. We go to File, no, not File, but Run Module, and we get a red paragraph of death right off. Okay, demo's ruined. No more class this semester. No, it says no module named graphics. Okay, back to the program. This very first line up here, from graphics import star. If you're using a library other than just the basic library, that has print and eval and input and range. All those things are in the standard library everybody uses. If you're using something fancy, then you've got to do what's called import it. From graphics import. And I could just say from graphics import circle, from graphics import square. I don't know what I'll be using. I might use all of it. The star is a wild card. Just bring it all in. Except you can't find it. That's where we have to, as quickly as I can, get out of here. Oh, this window's in the way now. Where? There. Okay, Google Chrome. You got an email from me this morning. I got it from myself. Here I am. It says CS 1124 Python graphics files. And you will want to download both of these. The graphics PDF is what this is. This is just a printout of the graphics.pdf. But if you don't want to haul this around with you every time you're working on a graphics program, then you can download PDF into your CS 1124 folder on your H drive, and this PDF file will follow you around campus. So you can open it and refer to it anytime you please. And I'm going to put this in 11, oh, that's where I should have been. Examples, put the graphics PDF in there. And this is what it's looking for. Graphics.py is our graphics library, and that's why it gave me that red paragraph of death. Graphics.py. Now, famous last words. Let's see if it'll run now. Run module. Well, it didn't do much, but it didn't give me a red paragraph of death. Believe it or not, all that buildup was with this tiny little square window up here with this even tinier, teeny tinier little circle in there. Yay, that's their demo of how the graphics library works. We're going to need to do some stuff with that. And this is where whoops, I did that wrong. It wanted me to click inside the window. When.getMouse means click inside the window. I'll go through this line at a time once I get the ball rolling here. So if I click inside the window, click, then the window goes away and the program's over, and it does not give me the red paragraph of death. So don't let that scare you. That just means you clicked in the wrong place to end the program. Now, because I am what I am, just like Popeye, I've got to put the file name up here. This is, well, it's ex4_02. ex4_02, just for you. .py, and I am going to put my name and the class, and I'll go ahead and at least put a description of the file, since that apparently is the most likely thing to be forgotten on an assignment. Demo the Python graphics library. Now, it ain't much of a demo, and I'll just comment as I go, and then that way you can ask questions if it doesn't make sense what's going on here. Connect to the graphics library. Now, there won't be any variations of that. That's kind of like the line def main at the top of a program. If you're going to do graphics and draw circles and squares and all that stuff, then you have to say from graphics import star. And you don't have to worry about, oh no, how do I change it if this or that? It's always going to be exactly the same. And here's the main program. Also in my nature, I'm going to have to clean up this code before we can experiment with it. When equals graph when. Holy moly. Already they dive into stuff that we didn't know anything about. That's why I handed you your handy dandy graphics reference. If we look that up, it tells you what that is. A graph when object represents a window on the screen where graphical images may be drawn. Well, that's enlightening. A program may define any number of graph whens. No, we're just going to use one. A graph when understands the following methods. Now, you may or may not remember the word method, but those are like the verbs. Those are things you can do with a graph when object. You can make one, and actually, it looks like that's what's going on here. It makes one. But look at the first little paragraph there they have under graph when objects. It's got graph when, title, width, and height, constructs a graphics window for drawing on the screen, parameters are optional, yada, 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 graphics window. But it's telling us that to make a new graphics window, you specify a title and a width and a height. Now, when we come back here, you see the source of some of my irritation. What's the title? My circle. What's the width? 100. What's the height? Now, you've known me. You've had me almost a whole semester. Why do you suppose I'm unhappy with that? I'm talking about, we're not even looking at the circle yet. I haven't made it as far as the circle. I am unhappy with the way they send parameters into the graph when object because they need up here before the program even starts. Read my mind before I type it in. Symbolic constants. Now accepting nominations for symbolic constants that might have made that graph when line a lot more understandable. We've got the title. I don't think we need a symbolic constant for title. But what's the first 100? It's actually the width of the entire window. So I'm just going to call it width. I'm going to yell it, just like I just did. Width equals 100. And height equals 100. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, may I suggest to you that this is a little easier to understand what's going on this line? This is making a window, a graph window, that according to the description, we can draw stuff in if we want to. It's got a title of my circle, and it has a width and a height. Now, all of this pontificating and preaching, let me make sure I didn't break it. And yes, I'm probably going to run this after every single change, just because this is uncharted territory. I'm at the mercy of the reference as much as you are. Well, I didn't break it. There it is, tiny little window, tiny little circle. Click on it and it goes away. Now, let's take advantage of the miracle of modern symbolic constants. That's tiny. I'm complaining. It's tiny. How about a width of 500 and a height of 200? All I'm doing is changing them up here at the top. It's like tweaking the knobs to move to a different radio station and turn up the volume. You do that in one place, this little control center called the symbolic constants. And everywhere these, well, it's not used very much, but everywhere these are used inside the program will automatically be updated. Run module, okay. And look at that. That's a much easier window to see. Mental note, I need to make it taller. I need to click in the window to make it go away. Click. I'll make this one go away too. Make it taller. 200 is not quite good enough. I'm going to try 400. And look how easy it is to tweak things and experiment. Just change them up here in Control Center, up here at the symbolic constants. Now that I'm on a roll, you know what? That circle has bothered me for a variety of reasons. It's almost invisible in the window. It's almost not worth the trouble. Let's put that right smack in the middle of the window. Okay, now here's some knowledge. Before I go back to that, here's some knowledge that I'm sure you would have figured out on your own. But the coordinate system, this window is viewed internally by the graphics system almost like a piece of graph paper. It's got X and Y coordinates. The X coordinate is the one that takes you across, the Y coordinate the one that takes you up and down. But here's the key point that I'm working my way around to. This corner up here, that is 0, 0. So if I'm moving over to the entire width of the window, then I'm moving from 0 over to whatever I said, 500, 600, to the right. The y coordinate starts up here in the upper left corner, and as the y coordinate gets bigger and bigger, it moves down the window. So it's not where you might expect it right here, like your normal graphing class in your math class. The graphics here, the 0, 0 square is up here where you see the cursor. Does everybody understand what I'm saying here? That's going to come in handy, maybe not right away, but it will come in handy pretty soon. Now, back to my question. Oh, no, I'm not ready for the question. I don't like the way they did the circle either. They should have asked me before they did this graphics demo. You can find circle on page somewhere. Well, it's at the top of page 4, the back of the second page. Circle methods. The first one, how do you make a brand new circle when you don't have one? You've got to specify a center point, which will be in the XY coordinate system I just described a little bit, and then the radius, which is the distance from the center out to the edge, if you remember in a geometry. So even though that's not labeled here, you know what? I'm going to use another symbolic constant. Circle radius equals 10. Now I've got another symbolic constant I could use here. It's taking shape. It's going to be a program that I'm not terribly unhappy with. But first, here's what I don't like. They did what I call making a point on the fly for the center point of the circle. I like for everything to be made separately, and then we put them together like Lego blocks. So I don't like making a point on the fly inside the circle object. I'm going to say circle center, which is camel case because that's not a symbolic constant. Surf center, circle center. And it's got to be a point object, which we'll have to look up. Point object. Point object. I know you're here. Point object is in the middle of page 3. Point object, you just specify the x and y coordinates. So I make a point by typing point with a capital P. Oh, new convention. You can remember this, or you could write it down, or you could just hear it again in the video. By convention, object types start with capital letter, and then they're camel cased. That's why circle starts with a capital C, point starts with a capital P. We don't want those to look like variables. That's a type of object. That is not a variable. It's not a symbolic constant. Now I need to specify x and y coordinates, and I'm going to use the phrase, the hyphenated phrase, self-adjusting. How can I get a point that is right smack in the middle of my graphics window at all times, regardless of how big or small the graphics window is? Do you understand the question? Let's say that this editor, let's say this is the graphics window. How could I get a point that is right smack in the middle of this window if I know up here this is 0, 0? I could put what? Point 250, 200. It's that simple. Point 250, 200. Does everybody see that that's going to be right smack in the middle? And now that I have a point, or do I? I can use that point object, C-I-R-C-L-E, center. I just think that's a lot cleaner. I made the graphics window. Then separately, I made the point that I want to be the center of my circle on the screen. Then separately, I made the circle. One line at a time. Let me see if I broke anything. No! And look, I got it right the first try. The circle is right smack in the middle of the graphics window. Does everybody see how great that looks? Okay, you know what? I've decided that window might be just a little bit too big. So I'm going to make it the width 400 and the height, I don't know, 350, 345. Who cares? Run module. Okay. Oops. I kind of broke something. It still runs, but what's wrong with this picture? The circle is not in the middle of the screen. Does everybody see that that's the case? You see where the circle is? Here's the middle, circle, not middle. Back to the drawing board. So my evil master plan still needs a tweak or two. What's wrong with this picture? What if I want the center point of the circle to be right smack in the middle of the window? At all times, regardless of the size of the window.
Symbolic constant.
Use the symbolic constants. Where is the center point of the window if the window is width across and height down? Well, you are correct, sir. But in the general case, I wouldn't put it past me to change the width and height again, and then the circle won't be in the middle anymore. Use the symbolic constants. That's actually one of the main reasons symbolic constants are such an important convention. I can say width divided by 2, if I can spell width, divided by 2, height, divided by 2. No. I need someone that can take dictation to sit up here and type for me. Let's look at that, what that should be doing here. This should make a graphics window that's width across and height deep. And we want the circle to be right smack in the middle. So if I want it to be in the middle, I go halfway across the width and then halfway down the height. It seems to fit logically, doesn't it? Let's run it and see. Run module, okay. And it is right smack in the middle. I don't trust it though. It worked for that one case. I'm not sure it will work if the width is 890 and the height is only 250. Yeah, that'll break it. That'll teach it. Run module. Well, that's kind of an ugly window because it's so wide compared to how deep it is. But look, the circle has a self-adjusting center point. And by self-adjusting, I mean it depends on the symbolic constants. We did not type the actual numbers in there verbatim. Does everybody see what's going on here? Now then, circle center, circle radius. What's left? C.draw. C is a variable. This is actually all three of these. All three of these are setting up variables and setting them equal to objects. WIN. There's nothing magic about WIN. That's just a variable. I can change that to W if I want to, and I will, just to prove that I can. W. And everywhere I had win, I need to now make it W. 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 W is the variable that holds my graphics window object, the first thing that showed up on the screen. Circle center, that's a longer, more involved name, but it makes it self-explanatory. Circle center is the point object that I'm going to use as the center of my circle, because when we looked up circle, I don't have these things memorized, I swear I don't. When we looked up circle, and I've even lost, oh, there it is. It wanted a center point. It wanted a point object as the first thing in parentheses. Tell me where you want this circle to go, and tell me what you want the radius to be. You know what? I'm having second thoughts about the circle radius, but I'll get back to that in a minute. C.draw. Let's look and see what that does. C is a GraphWin object starting on the very first page of your graphics reference. And draw. GraphWin objects. Oh, no. I'm not drawing the GraphWin object. I'm drawing the circle object. I know you were thinking about correcting me, but you wanted to avoid embarrass me. I appreciate that. But you should still call me on it. C.draw is drawing the circle object on graphics window W. So let's look up circle and find the draw method. Circle doesn't have a draw method either. I'm running into the wall every which direction. Here's probably the most important thing I'll say during this demo. All of those things, the circle, the rectangle, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, those all inherit from graphics objects, which means if you look at page 2, right there on the back of page 1, where it says graphics objects, all of those methods, that's like the animal data type where we had dogs more specific underneath and cats more specific underneath. Okay, all of the graphics objects are graphics object data type, and then there can be more specific ones like circle and rectangle and so forth. They get all the methods that graphics objects know for free. So everything you see there, set fill with the color, that sounds fun. We'll have to try that. Set outline with the color, even more fun. Set width, there it is, draw. Draws the object into the graph when and returns a drawn object we don't need to return. And there's an example. You'll notice all of these, or just about all of them, have examples to show you how to do it. Some object dot draw in some window. Well, we're being specific here. Not just some object. We want to draw our circle inside our window W, and that's what this line does. If oh no, I forgot to put that line in there temporarily. If I don't draw it, even though I go to all this trouble to make the center point and to make the circle itself, if I don't draw it, I call draw the mother may I step. If I don't do mother may I, then no circle. Why? The circle exists. It's in memory. It's just not on the screen because I did not tell it to draw itself. So that didn't work. Get rid of the comment. Now it will draw itself. W.getMouse is a method on W, which is GraphWin. So we'd have to go back to the GraphWin object, and on the back of the first page, getMouse pauses for the user to click a mouse in the window and returns where the mouse was clicked as a point object. My goodness, that sounds pretty complicated. Here's how you can find out when you're doing your experiments in the lab or elsewhere. Here's how you can figure out what they do. What does it do when you don't have them? What if I don't say get mouse? Run module. It should draw my circle now. I don't know if it did or not. It should draw my circle now. Did anybody see a circle draw in there? We didn't get a chance to see it. This, getMouse, all it does is wait until the user clicks the mouse in the window. Otherwise, it makes a dash for the finish line, and even though it just now flashed up the graphics window in the circle, it's done. It's done. It goes away. The program's over. We got to stop it. Anytime we want the program to hold up there, then we got to have a getMouse. So far what we've got, we made a graphics window to draw stuff in. We made a circle. We made a center point for the circle. Then we made the circle using the center point. We drew the circle, we got the mouse, and we closed it, and happy ending for all. Who has a question so far? Now, I'm not going to get rid of my circle radius, but just to browbeat you into believing in the power of symbolic constants, what if I wanted a circle in the middle, still in the middle of the window, that's exactly half the height of the window? No matter what size the window is.
Radius equals height / 2.
Is that what you were suggesting? Let's run that and see what it does. Whoops! Well, that's a bigger circle, that's for sure. But it's not half the height of the window. It's the full height. Can anybody reverse engineer an explanation for why that's the full height of the window rather than half of the height of the window? The radius is the distance from the center of the circle out to the edge. And if we divide height by 2, then from the center out to the edge, if that's half the height, then the entire circle is going to be the whole height of the circle. Holy moly, that was a horrible explanation. Does everybody see why the height over 2 is going to result in a circle that is fully height tall? Because we've got height over 2 from the point down here, and then another height over 2 from the center point up here. Those are both equal to the radius. So, slight tweak and adjustment on our scientific experiment. Height what? Divided by 4. Let's try that. Run module. There. Gorgeous. A floating circle right in the middle of the window. Let's press our luck, shall we? Let's turn this circle from just a plain circle into a disco ball. Let's make it stick to the top window. In other words, don't make it right smack in the middle. Bring it way up here. If we bring it way up here so that circle is touching the top of the window, visualize that if you can. How far over do we go to get to the center point? If I want to, all I want to do is raise this so that this circle is touching the edge at the top. If I do that, then how far over did I go in the window to get to the center point of the top? I didn't go over at all? 0? How far over do I have to go to get to the center point of the circle if I want the center point of the circle to be moved up so that the ball touches the top of the window? Can anybody figure that out? It is still width over 2. Now then, if this circle is going to be touching the top up here, then the y coordinate is definitely going to have to change. Is it going to have to be greater or less than it is right now? Less. I got to shrink it. What? And I will accept all suggestions. We'll try it and see if they work. We already said width divided by 2. That's fine for the distance over. But the distance down, how far down do we need to go if we want the circle to be bouncing against the ceiling up there?
Times 0.25.
Well, times 0.25 is divided by 4. The same thing? Let's try it. You can try wild experiments. You're not going to break anything. Let's just see what happens. Ta-da! Excellent. Right on the first try. Okay? That doesn't look like a disco ball, though. It's got to be some color. What color is a disco ball? Orange, green, white, yellow, pink. I don't know. I haven't been to a disco since late 70s. Maybe they don't even have disco balls anymore. Maybe that's the problem. What color would you like for our disco ball to be? Blue. Okay, so if you look at circle, that's what we're going to try to color. Circle does not have a color me or set in the fill or whatever. Whenever you know it's got to be possible to do something and you can't find it on the more specific type of object like circle or square or whatever, go back and look at the graphics objects, because everything listed for the graphics objects is stuff that all circles know how to do, all squares know how to do. And actually the very first thing on graphics objects on page 2 is set fill, set a color, set an interior color. So after I make the center and a circle, and before I draw it, I'm going to do C dot set fill in blue. Let's see if it knows how to do that. Did everybody see what just happened? The set fill, that is not listed as a circle method. You look at the graphics object. Circle inherits from graphics, so it gets all of that for free. And there is a set fill method. Run module. Okay. Oh my goodness. That is awfully blue. I think, if I recall, that it knows light versions of it. Let me lighten that up a little bit. Light blue. Ah, yes. That's the blue you meant, right? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. If our disco ball is light blue, then it's only logical that its outline should be what? It's not logical at all. You can pick any color you want. Pink. I think pink sounds good. How do you suppose we need to set the outline of the circle? I'll give you a hint. If you look at the circle objects, that does not list anything about setting an outline. And you always run home and look back at the graphics objects. Where do you see there that might set the color of the outline? Set outline. You couldn't be more direct than that. And notice we're doing this at all times. We do this as a method on an object. So we've got to specify that we're talking about our circle object here. set outline. We'll try pink. I hope it knows pink. That would be cool. Run module. I think that's pink. That's too skinny to see. Oh no, I need to make it thicker. That's the next method on graphics objects at the top of page 3. Set width. And I'm going to c dot set width. It's wanting me to type a number, and you know what? I don't want to type a number. I'm going to say circle width. We'll try 10 and see if that works. Why didn't I just go ahead and use circle radius? Well, it is not the circle radius that I'm using here, and I might decide to change one or the other of these later and leave the other one alone. So even though these two have the same value, it's a good idea to keep them separate symbolic constants. Set width equals circle width. I don't know that 10 will work. It might be too big. It might not be enough. This is very much a trial and error procedure. I hope that I'm communicating that to you successfully. That's not bad. I don't know. That looks pretty good, right? For our crowning achievement, let's see if we can put the word disco down here. Yes?
Changing the width makes it expand into the circle, right? It doesn't make it wider.
It looks like it made it bigger on the outside as well, because it looks to me, I don't know about you, it looks to me like it's even a little bit behind the window there. Here's a way we could experiment and check. I said change them independently. 25, that's going to be a huge width. Run module. Yeah, it looks like it's probably doing both. It's going both directions from the regular outline. So, yeah, that's an excellent question because it led us to yet another trial and error experiment. Now, let's play I Spy and see who wins. See if you can find out how to put words or text on our window along with all of our pictures we're drawing. Page 5 is what? Text methods. And it looks like we got to start by making a text object, and it wants a point. I've got a circle center. I guess I'll do the circle first and drop down here and do the text object. And yes, I'm going to have to comment this. It might not be before I finish the video because we're going to run out of time. If we haven't already, I'm going to hurry up and try to get the text. Text center equals point. Need a point object. Someone give me something to experiment with in terms of width and height. How far across? That's the easy one. I thought it was. It's halfway across, width divided by 2, right? We probably should have done something where we manipulated the width a little more, but maybe next video, who knows. Now then, I want it down below the disco ball. I don't want it on top of the disco ball. How can I get it below the disco ball? Now, I've got a center for it. I'm just going to say T. T equals, and I want to make a text object. And what does it want? It wants a point. I just now got a point. Text, center. And it wants a text string. Disco. Disco duck. Will that work? We'll see. Run module. I don't see it. Did you see it? Maybe it's invisible by default. I saw the circle. How is the circle different from what we did with the text, Mother May I?
You didn't make any size or color?
I could make it a size or a color. What did I do with the circle to make that show up on the screen that I have not done with the text object? I didn't draw it. See, you'll probably eventually figure out why I'm calling that the Mother May I step. I forget that a lot myself. Example, I forgot to draw it. You got to draw it in the window. Draw it on the window with crayons. You get in trouble with mom. Run module. Oh, well, that, we can say we meant to do that. But if we want to make it a little further down, well, actually, we could probably put it right here, which would be 3/4 of the way down, right? And then we'll be done. How can we get 3/4 of the thread? It's not even easy to say. Divide by 4 to get a fourth, and then multiply times 3. There's probably, you probably could just do 3/4 times height. You know what? Why not? 3 divided by 4 times height. In which case I don't need to divide by 4. 3/4 of the height. Will this work? Honestly, not like that. I don't know. I'm going to run it and see what it does, because this is an experiment. We're all just experimenting here. Okay. We can declare victory and retreat, but yeah, that disco word is way too small. It's not an interesting color. We could even change the font. There are all kinds of methods we could do to a text object to make it bend to our will and look better. Who has a question about this so far? You get your chance to get your hands wet with this afternoon in the lab. Yes?
If you want to put one image behind another, would the top image just be the most...
Most recent one, yes. His question is, if you draw more than one image and they overlap, which one will be on top? The last one that you draw is the one that will be on top. And that could turn out to be important someday. Any questions right now? Okay. I will comment this before I send you a copy of the source code, but that's it for the video. And cut.